Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Donjo number AST-2134M-WH white coated security strike. Let's take it out of the packaging. This is a large piece of steel made into a strike. Okay, that's what this looks like. Weighs about 1.02 pound, at least it does with the screw package. And this is one of a series of different steel-based security strikes that Donjo has. And they're all basically different by either their length or their width or the preparation inside of the strike itself for your latch bolt. Let's take dimensions of this one. Overall length, 18 inch. The overall width of the strike is about 2 1/4. Now, these strikes are strikes are measured from the center line of the screw hole, okay, which is generally, not always, but generally the center line of the prep as well, to the edge of the lip. If what we're saying is that screw hole preparation is the center of this prep, that's generally going to be considered the center of the thickness of the door when the door is in the closed position, okay? And that is how strikes are measured, which is the center line to the edge of the lip. So the center line to the edge of the lip on this strike is about 1 3/8. That's pretty typical. 1 1/4 is by far the Swiss Army knife size of strike plate lip lengths. So when they measure strikes, it's the center line of that mounting screw to the edge of the lip. That's what you use to determine, in part, if this is the correct strike for you. If the lip length is too short, it's not correct at all. If the lip length is too long, it's certainly not ideal of a strike preparation, that's to be sure. You don't want projecting hardware hanging off. I just had a client a couple of days ago ordered, and we went through all the math on determining what length of strike lip that he needed, and it was determined 1 3/4 because he had about an extra 1/2 inch of material. But the client received the strikes and said they were 1/4 inch too long, and we were never able to get to the root of how the original calculation was incorrect, but he simply wanted them tucked back further away from projecting into the opening. You can have a hallway with, doors going into the common hallway. You don't want strike plates sticking out. You're going to walk through there and you're going to, catch a sleeve, crack the crown of your watch on projecting hardware, things of that nature. And if the doors swing out, then you have to think about your hinges. So that's the dimension of this. White powder coated steel. Now, the size of the preparation for the latch or the bolt, it's going to be about 3.5 tall and about 11/16 wide. Okay, a little bit of a relief there on the lip that you can see. Now this is going to include screws. This is going to have a total of 6 screws. There are indeed a total of 6 holes in the strike, and those are going to be different by 2 different lengths. 2 short ones, 4 long ones. Now, where do they go? It matters. Well, first of all, you kind of can't get it wrong because the short ones are a greater diameter, which means they have a larger preparation. So the short ones are going to go in these 2 larger holes. The 4 longer ones are going to go in the 4 holes to the towards the stop preparation. Now, why are there different strike lengths? Screw lengths for this material? Let's switch to the screen view and take a closer look at why that's the case. Okay, so this is the strike that we're looking at, and the first thing we're going to do is determine why we have these different screw lengths. So let's take a look at why that's the case. Okay, so in a normal or a typical installation, you're going to have a frame. Let's just imagine that this is a single rabbet frame. It can be double rabbet, whatever. And you're going to have some pretty typical wall construction that's going to occur here. Okay, Your studs will fit back behind. Poor artistic skills aside. Okay, a couple of studs. Whatever wall treatment you're going to have here, whatever the construction's going to be. You've got some casing, you've got some wall situation here as well. Well, here's your strike. Okay, that's going to come down. Hopefully you get the concept. Sorry. Okay, here's your strike. So you've got holes you've got your preparation for your bolt in here. And if you recall, that's where the center line of those screws were. The other screws holes were back over here. Okay. Now, the reason that they are two different lengths is so that when you install the screws that would otherwise sit here, they're not very long. They're possibly 1 inch long, or, well, let's take a look. Yeah, they're 1 inch long. The longer screws, and they're probably a number 12, the longer screws appear to be they might be a number 10 or an 8, and they're 3 inch long. The short screws are going to fit inside of here. Okay. The longer screws, they're meant to go into the studs, and that's why they're longer. Okay. If you were to put them out over here, you don't really have a good centering of the screws down into the substantial wooden structure of the studs behind your frame. So that's why they're meant to go back inside of here. Okay. Now, switching back to the item that we're looking at, we have a template. Let's take a closer look at that. That will show you all the dimensional properties of everything that we've touched on and more, giving you the location of everything. I see in the upper right-hand corner they give us a thickness. 13 gauge is 0.95. I can tell you my caliper is telling me this is 0.092. So there you go, pretty accurate. The finishes in the upper right-hand corner as well. BP, brass-plated, SL for silver, and then white. I bet they can do these in black powder coat as well. Black is a relatively new popular finish, and it will probably remain popular for many, many years to come. So that's your technical drawing of the item. Then we get to the product catalog, and that's what's going to allow us to see the other options. So if you'll copy this part number and then carry it over and then do a find function on your keyboard, Control F, you'll get to the table where you can find all of these different strike preps. Okay, the AST 2134M mortise hole version with universal center hole. So, having said that, 1 hole, 2 hole, 2 hole at different centers, and then 1 larger hole. Well, the reason that hole is larger is because it's meant for a mortise. If you had a mortise lock on your door, mortise locks are going to, when you have a regular latch bolt, okay, and then you have a deadbolt up above, you need to know the center to center of those. Okay, what's that dimension? Well, with a mortise lock, you're going to have in the edge the deadbolt, maybe an auxiliary latch, and then you're going to have the latch bolt itself. And the concept of that 3.5 inch tall hole is for you to fit all of that in there. Now, whether or not you will, I can't tell you. I don't know what lock you have. But that's the idea, that all of that, the latch, this guarded portion is not going to work at all with this installation, this auxiliary deadlocking latch. Some lock manufacturers have it down below your lock, but then that's where your stop works would be if you had those. So you'll have to measure and determine how well that's going to lay out. The dead latching feature is a small trigger in the edge of the lock that you want to have fully depressed when you install the lock, because that will keep the latch bolt from being lloyded. Okay, so that's the idea of what that mortise hole version with universal center hole. Will this work for you? Can't say. Do you have the data to determine if it will? Absolutely. You've got that technical drawing there that will tell you the overall height. Okay, so hopefully that will get you to that point. So 2134 is an 18 by 1 3/4. Now, I'm not really sure what they're referring to 1 3/4. There's nothing on here that's 1 3/4, except what they're trying to tell you is it's for an 1 3/4 thick door. Okay, it happens to have a standard lip length, or relatively standard. If you have an 1 3/8 door, obviously you use the 2138M, and then you can see the other variants of what they have here. An 8 inch version and a 12 inch version with the universal center hole. They have the standard single latch hole, and then the deadbolt and latch in a 3 5/8 or 4-inch and a 5.5 or 6-inch version here. Different finishes are mentioned down here. Now, why would you need such a long strike plate? Well, you've got some damage. You have maybe a kick-in and part of the frame has been substantially damaged. And the concept with a longer strike and a piece of steel is that you can chisel away or remove all the damaged components and then replace all of your strikes, or both of them, likely, well, possibly, with one long piece of steel. Okay, so it's not only a way to reasonably upgrade what you have, but it's a way to upgrade what you have and repair some potential damage as well. Removing the doors is one thing. Removing a door and a frame can be a different chore altogether. So that's that table. Now the rest of the product catalog is going to allow you to go through all of the strike plates offered by Danjo, and I won't go through all of them except to say that they have a complete offering of strike plates. Extended lip versions, different security strike versions. This is the BX2 SDS is a good strike for deadbolts if you want to reinforce your deadbolt installation. It's other security options where they get those screws back into the studs, as I had mentioned earlier. Okay. Adjustable T-strike and 4 7/8 ASA strike. Thimble strikes, if you're drilling if you need to add a deadbolt to a steel frame and you can't prep that correctly, you can drill a round hole and use a thimble strike. Finally, they can custom manufacture strikes. I find that it's awfully expensive to do that in a small quantity, but nonetheless, they have the capability of doing it. So let's wrap up this video on camera, but before we do so, the link here to the manufacturer's page, that's going to allow you to review not only all of the Danjo products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. All of the subsections of the full product catalog are here, so that you don't have to go through that large, unwieldy catalog. So if you wanted to look just at strike plates, there they are. Or reinforcing wraparound plates, there they are. Latch protectors, there they are. If you know Danjo, the name, you probably know them for the latch protectors and wraparound plates. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, in conclusion, this might be a very suitable way to mitigate some sort of problem you have, or I've had people order these or this type of product and say, and yeah, I'm getting some new doors and frames, and yeah, I want to get some security strikes. And I say, why? What's wrong with your new doors and frames? Oh, nothing. I know someone's going to try to break in eventually. So I've heard that from people. Or I know what's going to happen. There's going to be an attempt to break in, and the client will say, I know I'm going to end up putting this on, and I'd rather do it now rather than later. So that's another reason where people will purchase this. Good quality company, Danjo. Very predictable, prompt, reliable. Generally, when you call, they're the person who answers the phone can be tech support, customer service, whatever sort of help that you need. So we appreciate that. Any questions on the Danjo AST-2134M-WH, Security Strike, or any other Danjo product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.